The next thing I want to talk about is colors. So if you watched the previous video, you know I was getting pretty frustrated with colors, right? So there are other stuff that we can do with colors. And there's a good range of color. Well, when we really get into it, there's a ton of different color options. We're going to focus on named colors first because it's a little bit more limited. And then we'll talk about some of the other colors later. So we've already talked a little bit about named colors actually, or rather, we've been using named colors. So like black, blue, yellow, red, those are named colors. Now when it comes to color theory, you're probably used to this sort of color dynamic here. Red, yellow, blue, green, orange, purple, right? So you've got your primaries and your secondaries. And I've sort of organized this video in that order, more or less. I mean, it's a circle, right? And I can't quite go in a circle. Well, I could, but that would... So anyway, I had to choose a starting point and a stopping point. And so I decided to start with blue and then go up to red, so going counterclockwise to yellow and hitting the secondaries in between, and then hitting the neutrals at the very end. So basically, you just type the name in. Like I was trying to do, I think it was light gray, and I was putting like a hyphen in between the word light and the word gray, and that's not how you do it named colors. There's actually no gap, no hyphen, no space, no underscore. You just run it all together, which I don't really like, and I forget all the time. And I don't actually use named colors, but it's good to be aware of them. So these are sort of the blues. There's actually quite a few named colors. There's like 140-ish shades, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. So there's a few in here that are kind of greenish, but I chose to put them here anyway because green was pretty full too. So here's the blues. If you want one of these shades, just type that whole thing in there and it should turn out, well, whatever shade you typed in. Here's our purples, right? So we've got a good amount of purples. I've included some pinkish colors in there, the ones that I felt were more of a purplish pink as opposed to like a reddish pink. So, and you can disagree with me, that's okay. But these are the ones that I put in sort of the purple range. Some of them are kind of bluish, like midnight blue is pretty bluish, but it's kind of purplish in comparison to the other blues. Plus, as you saw, I ran out of space on the blues, so... But I felt it was kind of purplish before I even ran out of space, so I mean, if that counts for something. Anyway, there is one color in here that I do want to point out and draw a little bit of extra attention to, and that's Rebecca Purple. So, Rebecca Purple is fairly special. There were actually 140 different colors that you could use in the named color space, palette, whatever you want to call it. Now, if you go in and count, there's a few more because there are a couple colors that have like two names, like fuchsia and magenta. But for the most part, there's 140. Rebecca Purple was the 141st color, and there are 141, and that's it. It's the last one. It wasn't originally planned. Rebecca Purple is different. It's special. It's named after a person. So one of the web developers who helped design, create CSS. So Eric had worked on the web and web development and web standards and these sorts of things for about 2 decades, which a lot of the web uses, which is the same namespace that we use with SVG colors. Him and his wife, Eric and Kat, they had adopted a little girl, Rebecca, and she went by Becca. For several years, they battled with cancer, and they went all over the place, all over the US, trying to find a cure, and it didn't happen. Things didn't go as one would hope. Rebecca passed away actually on her 6th birthday. It was the day that she turned 6, after a long fight with cancer. But her favorite color was purple. And so a group of people that knew Eric and Kat, they requested that the W3, the organization that helps supervise the way the web develops and everything, that they add one last color to the named colors. And that was Rebecca Purple. Well, actually, Becca Purple, because she went by Becca. Eric didn't make an opinion on whether or not it was accepted, whether or not the W3 actually went forward with it. They moved very quickly on it. They accepted it right away. He did make one condition, though. Becca had decided that when she turned 6, that she didn't want to be Becca anymore because Becca, she said, was a baby name. And so she wanted everyone to call her Rebecca. And so he requested that Becca Purple be Rebecca Purple. Okay, here are the reds and pinks, and these are the reddish pinks. I left out the purplish pinks into the purple section. Here are the orange-ish-y colors, which includes browns and tans. You might think that some of it's getting into the yellows a little bit, and that's fine. You can think that. Here are the yellows, and you might be thinking that dark khaki and that olive looks really pretty green, and I agree with you. The reason why is because there are a lot of greens, and those were the more yellowishy greens I felt. I mean, green yellow's kind of yellowy also, but I felt the other ones were kind of like the brownish yellow. Anyway, I didn't really organize this in any scientific method. I looked at it and I made a decision. So, you know, super accurate. There are other ways you can organize this as well, but I thought it was a pretty nice way to do it, because typically when you're like, hey, I want a greenish color or I want a reddish color, you don't think like, hey, I want like a 30-ish% reddish color or something like that, right? You don't do it that way. And lastly, here are the neutrals. And there's a bluish shade kind of in there, a couple bluish shades, and a couple greenish shades. And you can see actually here, there's quite a bit of overlap. So like dark gray and dark gray with the English or the American spelling, same color. Light slate gray and a light slate gray. Yeah, you're catching a pattern here, right? So quite a few of these have two names for the same color, depending on if you're going by American English or English. Anyway, those are the colors, and you can use them just like you could brown, black, green, any of the colors that we've used previously. So for example, let's try slate gray. So I'm just going to make a new document because I threw away my other document. Equals 500. Height equals 500. Close those out. And then we'll just do a rectangle really fast. Width equals 200. Height equals 200. And fill equals, what did we say, slate gray? I think that's what I said. I think I said slate gray. Close it, save it. And did it work? No. Why? What did I save this as? Oh, I saved it as a SVG file, not an HTML file. Ha. There we go. Ta-da! And, what were some other colors? Magenta. There's magenta. Light pink. And let's end it with Rebecca purple, since that's the super sentimental, super sad one. There you go. Those are named colors, all 141 of them.